Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, we have had some good news in the world of boxing recently. Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. is finally set to go down on the 29th of July. Of course, this fight is a welterweight, undisputed fight. The winner will be crowned the man of the division. So naturally, I get why people are very happy, I get why people are very excited. I am too. I'm really excited for this fight. We've been waiting for it for far too long. However, the reaction to this fight getting made, to me at least, really kind of summarises where boxing is at, and more so in particular, where boxing fans are at. Boxing fans really are clapped. They really are. We are ultimately the consumers of this sport. We are the paying customers. And for fighters, and people don't like it when I describe them as such, but the fighters are just a commodity. They are tools for our entertainment. That is the reality of the situation. We are the customers and ultimately they are the product. That's how it is. I see so many fans on Twitter patting these guys on the back, giving these guys extra credit for this fight finally being signed, when in reality, let's be honest here, it should have been signed in what, 2019, 2018? You know, that's when it should have been signed. Because when you look at this fight now, Terence Crawford is what, 35 years old? He still looks really good in the ring, but he's getting to that age now where he's going to slip past his prime real soon. For all we know, he may be past his prime. As for Errol Spence Jr., he's a bit younger. He is, what, 33, 34? He's a bit younger, but, you know, Errol Spence Jr. doesn't have a reputation of living the life outside the ring. Problems with alcohol, drunk driving accidents, etc., serious injuries due to that, legal problems, etc. A lot of distractions outside the ring. And from what we've seen of Errol Spence Jr., what we know about him, that type of lifestyle isn't conducive of a long-reigning athlete. So there's a very real chance that Errol Spence Jr. is past his prime. In fact, I would say he is. When you look at his last two fights, your Dennis Ugas and Danny Garcia, there were a couple of shaky moments in those fights, maybe signifying that he's not quite as sharp as he once was. So potentially we're getting this fight in 2023 when I would say one guy is definitely past his prime in Errol Spence, and Terence Crawford may be past his prime slightly. And I'm supposed to sit here and act super grateful for this fight finally being signed. Am I missing something here? Boxing fans need to raise their fucking standards quick. They really do. These are the sort of fights we should be expecting very frequently in boxing, very consistently. These types of fights should be the norm. Unification fights, undisputed fights, regardless of network divides or promotional divides. These fights need to be happening on a far more regular basis. And yeah, I see the reaction to this fight finally getting made on social media, and I find it a little bit alarming, to be honest. It really summarises how low the standards are of the modern boxing fan. Because as a promoter, as a network, you really don't have to do much to make these guys happy. You know, no consistency, no solid schedules, no frequency of really good fights, you know, back to back to back, none of that. Just throw these guys a good fight every 6 months or so, and they're happy. That is the modern boxing fan. You know, this fight being made, both guys are doing their jobs. It's that simple. And quite frankly, they are late in doing so. And we're supposed to act grateful. Again, we're the paying customers here. We are the consumer base. You know, they are supposed to be offering us a good product on a consistent basis, but most fight fans really don't seem to care about that. They really don't seem to care. So yeah, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, finally get this fight signed. You know, a few years late, still looking forward to it, still a really good fight, but ultimately, these are the sort of fights that should be happening on a regular basis in boxing. And again, I keep on hearing about how great 2023's been so far. And yes, we have had some really interesting fights. You know, Spence versus Crawford coming up, Inoue versus Fulton, Haney versus Lomachenko, Garcia versus Tank Davis, Benavidez Plants, and more. We've had some really good fights, don't get me wrong, but ultimately, this should be the standard. You know, not just a flash in the pan, a few months where we get really good fights. This really should be the standard going forwards. And quite frankly, it can still get better as well. Because we still have network divides holding fights back. We still have promotional rivalries holding fights back. We are still not where we should be. Again, 2023's been an improvement, there's no doubt about it, but things can still get a damn lot better. That's the reality. And yeah, the way I see these clapped-ass fans on social media just like bowing down and lauding these guys in appreciation for finally giving them the fight they should have gotten years ago, I find it rather pathetic, quite frankly. It's like being in a marriage and being grateful for one shag a year. Do you know what I'm saying? It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing, you know? I expect this on a regular basis. And ultimately, it's down to us boxing fans to attempt to enforce it, right? To keep on voicing our displeasures at what we see in boxing, fights not getting made, promotional issues, etc. It's up to us boxing fans, it's up to us with social media accounts, YouTube accounts, to keep voicing our displeasures and to keep the pressure on, to keep the foot on their neck, as the kids say. That's what should be happening, but again, so many people on socials, they have set the bar so low. They must be midgets, it's that low. We need to raise the bar, raise the standards, and demand these types of fights on a more regular basis for one, but also demand these fights when they should actually happen. More so when both guys are coming towards the end, where they may need a cash out, that sort of thing, you know? But yeah, it amazes me, it really does amaze me how easily pleased boxing fans are. They are really the lowest of the low on a whole, right? A large portion of the fan base are really, you know, the lowest common denominator, I would say. That's a reality. Maybe that's why the standards are so low. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm glad the fight is happening. I am excited for it, no doubt. Looking forward to it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here, guys. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's crazy to me, man. Like, the way some of these guys are acting, the way they man defend and shit, you'd think these guys are getting paid themselves. Because I really can't think of another reason as to why certain guys would act such a way. The way they go to bat for certain fighters and certain promoters, it's bizarre to me. It really is bizarre to me. But that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're battling against in the boxing community. Because these types of guys, these types of uploaders, social media accounts, they are the enemy. They are the enemy of progress in boxing. They are the enemy of the consumer. All they do is enable the fuckery that is currently ongoing in boxing. So fuck those guys. Just that simple. They're an absolute disgrace. But anyway, it is what it is. I am pleased the fight is happening. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just giving you a realistic perspective of where boxing is at and the standards in which we should all be thriving for, no matter what types of fighters we support, this, that and the other. But yeah, anyway, share your thoughts below. I'm sure I'm going to upset a couple of people, but it is what it is. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.